Hi dear students, welcome back to 6th online session Anand Medical Academy. In the previous sessions we have finished the two important lessons. One is human reproduction and second one is molecular basis of inheritance. Followed by biotechnology principles and processes. This lesson is completely depend on very last chapter, that is molecular basis of inheritance. In that lesson we have learned complete structure of chemical structure of DNA as well as some nucleic acids. Then DNA replication process, transcription, translation, genetic code, so many things we learn in molecular basis of inheritance. Once we learn such topics like replication, transcription and translation, we have to know that where and how we have to apply such things. This is the area where we are applying such techniques we learn in molecular basis of inheritance. That is what? Biotechnology. Several ways are there to define biotechnology. In which some ways let me try. Firstly, a good definition here I have written for the biotechnology. It is concerned with the applications of living cells or their components for mankind. It's a very simple definition for defining the biotechnology. So, by using living organisms, its structures, its chemicals, we have to create some other beneficial things towards humankind by using some techniques. Such a applicatory part of this branch of biology can be considered as biotechnology. Here itself, biology is completely science. Application of science is called technology. So, application of the science in biology would be considered as biotechnology. Over the discussion or over the period of these discussions, we will learn exact definition of biotechnology. The founder of biotechnology or father of biotechnology will be called as Paul Berg. The Paul Berg is considered as father of biotechnology. This biotechnology definition was given by European Federation of Biotechnology. European Federation of Biotechnology is an organization under the control of EMBL, European Molecular Biology Laboratories, has been defined biotechnology in several ways. In that, white biotechnology, red biotechnology, green biotechnology and blue biotechnology. These names has been labeled in front of biotechnology according to the source and the products and also yield. Let us see one after one. In white biotechnology, industrial chemicals and fuel like things we use it to obtain by using some techniques applied to living organisms. By using some, if we extract some fuels from living organisms, whether the plant or algae or some like dinoflagellates or any masses or animals, if we use such animals in the process of biotechnology and extract some chemicals or fuels, such biotechnology branch is called white biotechnology. Whereas in the red biotechnology, we can see tissue regeneration, tissue repair or replantation of some organs as well as some stem cell technology. Stem cell technology means what? By one cell we can generate entire organ or body. Such techniques are applied in the red biotechnology, that is stem cell technology or techniques. Next, green biotechnology. I hope you can guess what exactly the green biotechnology meant for. So, we are obtaining some chemicals to improve the methods in agriculture. Suppose we use it to alter some genes to get a good product. So, genetical errors are going to be rectified and genetical modifications or alterations of genes to get good yields in the part of agriculture is considered as green biotechnology. Here, agricultural benefits by gene makeup or genetic engineering. The blue biotechnology is telling that aquaculture, fisheries and marine organisms. In blue biotechnology, we use it to apply biotechnology methods to get so many benefits to humankind from marine organisms and some other aquaculture products. In the process of all these four biotechnology introduction, I have been used one term that is called genetic engineering. Let us discuss what exactly genetic engineering. Here if you observe, it is a branch of biotechnology. BT is the short form I have mentioned here to tell biotechnology. In applied genetics, that deals with the alteration of genetic makeup. Generally, if an organism DNA is there, if I take that linear A, T, G, C, C, T, A is the general sequence, if it is the original sequence, and these two are non-functional, then it will become error. Whenever A, T, G, C, C, T, A are the normal sequence of an organism, it is doing function. But these C and C are not giving a product, we have to alter them, we have to edit them, whether subtract or addition or replace something. How? Different methods we are using in the genetic engineering. But here one should understand that during genetic engineering what is happening? Alteration is happening. It's not actually original. We are modifying that gene. Maybe sometimes we use it for cloning techniques also. So that is what genetic engineering. It is a very good scope branch in biotechnology as well as in life sciences. Next, in India, Hargovind Khorana is a scientist. In 1969, synthesized a gene by using genetic engineering. Let us discuss what exactly the genetic engineering in other way. It is also called recombination DNA technology. What was that? Recombination DNA technology. Recombination stands R. So that here the short form is rDNA technology. rDNA technology means what? Recombination DNA technology. Sometimes it is also called as cDNA technology. Means complementary DNA technology. All these are synonyms of genetic engineering. In biotechnology, genetic engineering is a branch. Genetic engineering methods are so many are there. First time this rDNA technology was introduced by scientists Boyer and Cohen in the year 1972. Let me tell you the rDNA technology in simple way when they are introduced first time. They have discovered antibiotic resistance gene, and for example, if it is the antibiotic resistance gene, some sequences of DNA. And they have found plasmid. What is plasmid? Plasmid is the term you are listening first time. Listen carefully. It is extra chromosomal genome often presenting only prokaryotes. Generally, if it is a bacteria, E. coli, it has its DNA. This is called bacterial genome. The DNA which is designed for all the characteristic features of bacteria. Other than this, some extra genome is present which is circular, often other than genome. This is called plasmid. So we can call plasmid is a extra chromosomal genome other than bacterial genome, but that is also made up of DNA. Such plasmids are used. How these plasmids and this antibiotic resistance gene, this antibiotic resistance gene is extracted from some other source. It is going to recombinant, means what? Coupling or joining with the plasmid of the E. coli. If this is the plasmid of E. coli, these are the generally nucleotide sequences of the plasmid. By using some enzymes, we will learn what are these enzymes. Some part of plasmid has been lysed. Lysed means what? Broken or cut, and introduced this foreign DNA here. So this is called recombinant. Recombinant. Combination of two different organisms DNA sequences is called recombinant. Then it is introduced to another organism. As that organism is multiplied by binary fission or any other asexual method, it is also doubled, tripled, and n number of clones were forming. So this process is called cloning. Cloning means what? The desired GNA molecule is introduced into the host. As host is multiplying, our GNA molecule which is inserted into the plasmid also multiply, and finally if we extract n amount of more amount of desired gene will come. This process is also one of the important phenomenon in the genetic engineering called cloning. Let us see some other important things which helps to drive the biotechnology principles and processes now. to know so many processes involved in the biotechnology, we have to know one of the list that is called biotechnology tools. Means to make some techniques and processes, what are the tools exactly required that are called biotechnology tools, or tools involved in biotechnology. This is the topic now. Firstly, so many enzymes were required. Let us discuss one after one. Firstly, so many enzymes. Why? Because in biotechnology, we have to enter the cell. Means we have to break the cell wall or cell membrane. Later we have to collect the DNA. For all these, biocatalyst activities are so important. What is biocatalyst? None other than enzyme. So that after enzyme, we need some vectors. So many different types of vectors are there. Now I will tell you a surface definition of vector. Vector is an agent who can carry foreign DNA into the host. So what are the suitable host? What is the suitable vector for a host is also an important parameter. When times comes to discuss about the vector, we come to know. So first thing is enzyme, second thing is vector. Third one, vector carrying the foreign DNA or alien DNA molecule into the host. So that what is an ideal host? What type of characters a host should we have to involve in the biotechnology process or genetic engineering is also important. Fourth one is hostless gene transfer methods. A desired gene wants to transfer into the host, we need vector. Without a vector also, some cases we can transfer a gene directly into the desired organism. The hostless gene transfer methods we will see later. Next, some techniques. What are the techniques? Let us observe. Techniques like gel electrophoresis. Gel electrophoresis is a technique. Second one is blotting, means isolation of the fragments which are extracted by the gel electrophoresis. These two are involved in DNA fingerprinting. DNA fingerprinting. In molecular basis of inheritance, actually in the conclusion part, after the human genome project, we have to discuss DNA fingerprinting. In that video session, I already told you, in the biotechnology part, DNA fingerprinting will be recorded. So in this lesson, we will explain. What are the other methods? If you see, PCR, polymerase chain reaction. And after all this, we have to extract the product. For that, there is a method is called downstreaming process. Downstreaming process. So these all are the contents present inside this lesson as well as genetic engineering processes. One by one we will discuss. Firstly, I would like to complete the first part, that is enzymes involved in the biotechnology. Now, enzymes involved in biotechnology or genetic engineering. This is what exact concept of today's video. Let me tell you the list of enzymes first. Number one is lysing enzymes. Note it down clearly. Lysing enzymes, lyases are not. Lysing enzymes, there are different. Number two, alkaline phosphatases. Number three, ligases. If we use these ligases for DNA, then they are called DNA ligases. For RNA, then it would be called as RNA ligases. Ligase is an enzyme which helps to joining the fragments of nucleotides. Next, nucleases. Nucleases are the enzymes that helps to break down the nucleic acids. These nucleases are two types: exonucleases and endonucleases. Their further classification will be learned later. These are the four different types of enzymes involved in biotechnology principles and process. One by one, let us see. First one is lysing enzyme. Lysing enzyme. There was a bacteria, or there was a plant, or fungi, or animal. Why I have taken all these different types of diversity of animals means everywhere DNA is present. Biotechnology is not only applied for animal. Biotechnology is a process which is applied to any organism, but benefit is towards human. It's very simple definition it is. I hope you understand. So sometimes bacterial organisms also important to edit their genomes to get some benefits, and plants, fungi, even some other animals also helps to involve themselves in biotechnology process towards mankind benefits. But in biotechnology we don't want bacteria, but we need their DNA. Suppose if it is the bacteria, inside DNA is present. Without breaking this bacteria, how DNA will be extracted and further usage process? So, if you want to take the DNA of the bacteria, DNA of the prokaryote, then we have to break the cell wall. Cell wall of bacteria is made up of peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan is a component present in the cell wall of the bacteria. You are desiring, what you are targeting is bacterial DNA, but you have to open first bacteria cell wall. That's why to lysing means what? To break the bacterial cell wall, we have to use lysozyme. Lysozyme is an enzyme which helps to break the bacteria cell wall so that we can extract the DNA. If you want to do experiments with the DNA, first you have to collect the DNA from the desired cells, no? So that lysing enzymes in case of bacteria, answer is lysozyme. So sometimes question may come, why does lysozyme is used to break the bacteria or any other prokaryote? Answer is lysozyme targets peptidoglycan. Then the bonds present between the NAM and NAD or peptidoglycan bonds will be broken up, then cell wall will be ruptured, then ultimately we can collect bacterial genome called DNA. In case the desired DNA is present in a plant cell, in a leaf or a stem or a root, somewhere else the DNA is present inside the nucleus, plant is eukaryotic, so that we have to break the cell wall. In plant also what will be there? Cell wall. To break the cell wall, to collect the DNA of the plant cell, then we have to use cellulase and protease and lipase, pectinase, such enzymes we have to use in case you are going to collect the bacterial genome. That's why these are called plant lysing enzymes. We cannot predict. Always, we don't think that always we need a bacterial genome or a human genome. No. Biotechnology means any living organism genome may be involved to get some profit, that is obviously towards human. So what are the lysing enzymes? To dissolve the or to break the plant cell wall, cellulase, protease, lipase and pectinase. These are the components. Generally, cell wall of the plant is composed of cellulose. Cellulose is a polysaccharide which is present in the component of plant cell wall. Cellulase, ASE is the enzyme then that helps to break the cellulose. Then you can collect the DNA from desired plant cell. If it is the fungi, suppose if it is the yeast, unicellular fungi. Inside the yeast there was a genome. We need it for some kind of experiments like Human Genome Project also. Yeast artificial chromosome we used. So to collect this we have to break. Means yeast cell wall is made up of chitin. Yeast cell wall is made up of chitin. So what type of enzyme we have to use? We have to apply chitinase or protease. These type of enzymes we have to use, dissolve or break the yeast cell or any fungi cell to collect the fungal DNA in the process of biotechnology. Last one is animal. If it is an animal cell do not have a cell wall, it has cell membrane, plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is lipid bilayer. Obviously we have to use lipases and some proteases. So by action of lipases and proteases, animal cell membrane will be ruptured and inside the nucleus the DNA molecule can be obtained easily. So lysing enzymes are used to break the boundary of the cells of bacteria or fungi or algae, plants or animals, whatever. Further we can identify their DNA and we can collect. To get the DNA we have to use lysing enzymes is the conclusion in the part of lysing enzymes. Next let us see the second type of enzymes called alkaline phosphatase. Another category of enzymes, that is alkaline phosphatases. How does these enzymes helps in the process of genetic engineering or biotechnology processes? I already told you just before, if it is the plasmid, plasmids are circular, means sphere. They are circular and also double standard circular extra chromosomal genome is plasmid. About plasmid in the next class we will discuss. We have to do some experiments. In this experiment we have to make this circular or coiled DNA into a linear or stretching molecule. We have to. When we use to cut the circular, it will become a linear, and obviously it is a 5' and this is 3' and obviously this is a 5' and 3'. At 5' what will be there? Phosphate will be there, and at 3' what will be there? OH will be there, as well as here the 5' phosphate will be there and 3' OH will be there. When we cut by using some nucleases, the plasmid, circular plasmid become linear. Why we want linear? To conduct some experiments. If you want to add a desired genome in this end, so that we need a linear DNA molecule. How you will add in a circular one? So that is why sometimes scientists or geneticists need a linear molecule. Here what I would like to tell you is how you will turn a circular DNA into linear. If you use any kind of nucleases, circular DNA becomes linear, but as they have a tendency to recoil, then this phosphate and OH again will bind, and this phosphate and OH again will bind, so become very instantly this linear will become circular. Understand? So that scientists would not have a linear DNA molecule for further steps in the particular experiment. But he was required a damn linear molecule, then he has to add alkaline phosphate at the 5', then they use it to remove the phosphate molecules. Alkaline phosphatases are the enzymes, they use it to remove the phosphate molecules at the 5', then they never recoil. OH and OH cannot bind. The P and OH can be bind, and this phosphate and this OH can be bind. As we have involved the alkaline phosphatases, their actions removed the free phosphate molecules at the 5', then they lose the tendency and also they avoid the recoiling and formation of circular DNA. Then how long you want the linear DNA can be used as tool in the respective experiment. So that is the reason alkaline phosphatases are considered as very important enzymatic tools in biotechnology process. That is the second one. And we have discussed two things. One is lysing enzyme, second one is alkaline phosphatases. Now the third one is ligases. Before classes in the molecular basis of inheritance, we already had used this term ligase. You just recall that is a replication part. That helps to attach or join the two DNA molecules, then it's called DNA ligase. And if the RNA molecules are going to join, that is called RNA ligase. So about them, no need to explain as your knowledge enough. Last one is nucleases. Nucleases act on nucleotides in the DNA or RNA, and that long DNA molecule become fragments. But here the nucleases are two kinds I have given. One is exonucleases, second one is endonucleases. Let us see their story now. Let me enlighten you about very important enzymes in the biotechnology called nucleases. Define nucleases. Enzymes can break nucleic acids into fragments. Suppose if it is a nucleic acid, no matter is a DNA or RNA, they act on nucleic acids that results some fragments. Like that, one long or lengthy DNA or RNA molecule, because of the action of nucleus, they become so many nucleotide sequences. Where the type 1 is exonuclease and the type 2 is endonucleases. As you have some grip on terminology, you can assume that exonucleases means nucleases that enzymes can break the nucleic acids. Exo means what? Outside. Suppose if it is the DNA strand, I have been uncoiled this and made the stretch for our better understanding. This is a 3' and 5', opposite 3' and 5'. So here some sequences were there. Suppose A, T, G, C, A, T, G. Opposite C, A, T, G, C, A, T. So complementary sequences are there. Here the bonds also present. A and T, double bond here, again triple bond, double bond and triple bond. This is some length of nucleotide sequences of a DNA. Obviously, why? Thymine is involved. So that in place of thymine, if uracil is there, we can call up that is RNA. No matter. Exonucleases act on only ends. Only ends. They can cut only one nucleotide. Next, only one nucleotide. So if you remove these two nucleotides of edges, either this end or that end, exonucleases can be used. That's it. No more function of exonucleases. Exonucleases are the type of nucleases to cut DNA molecules in only ends, either this end or that end. No any of the center that exonucleases can act and give two fragments. Exonucleases, another function is they can cut only one nucleotide sequence by one action. If you want another nucleotide, second time they have to act. Their actions are continuous. Their actions do not have any lag or lapses, but their actions are very quick. Result, nucleotides. Exonucleases results single nucleotide sequences. That's it. We never have a fragments of different pieces of fragments. If you want to cut one nucleotide this end or that end, we have to use exonucleases, another function. Now, one more important thing, exonucleases can cut only one strand, not both the strands. Any one of the strand, any one of the end. Clear? Or both the ends but not center. What are endonucleases? Opposite to the exonucleases, there was the endonucleases are there. Nucleases, they act on nucleic acids anywhere. Means any center, any point of nucleic acid, they act and break into the fragments. So suppose this is the strand, endonuclease can act here or here or here, anywhere they can act and make into fragments. If they act here, this is the result of the given DNA molecule. 1, 2 and 3 fragments are happen. Not only single nucleotides, fragments are formed. Fragments of nucleic acids were formed by the action of endonucleases. And endonucleases actions are slow compared to exonucleases. They have some lapses also. This is what the difference between exonuclease and endonuclease. Let me tell you one more time. Exonucleases are also type of nucleases, but they cut DNA or RNA in the only ends or either edges, not at center. Whereas endonucleases are also type of nucleases, they can cut anywhere, even outside and inside also, any center, both the helicals it can cut, whereas here only one helical it can cut. The result of one action of exonuclease is equal to one single nucleotide. The result of one endonuclease is equal to one fragment that result more than one nucleotide. This is how we can know the difference between exonuclease and endonuclease. But the most important thing is in endonucleases there are so many types are there. In that very important thing are restriction endonucleases. Restriction endonucleases, they are also called molecular scissors or molecular cutters. This is what the importance of restriction endonucleases. Why it has so much of a familiarity in the genetic engineering method, let us see now. Restriction endonuclease enzymes are also called biological cutters or molecular cutters, DNA cutters or molecular scissors. Let us see some interesting part of molecular scissors. That is, in 1963, they were identified in E. coli. Actually, we don't know. We means humans do not know that some enzymes that are called restriction enzymes. And the process of bacteriophage infection, guys, I am telling you the history behind identification of restriction endonucleases. It is so interesting. Bacteriophage. Bacteriophage means what? Virus. So this is what the bacteriophage, and its genome is there here. This is the bacteria called E. coli. When it infects, bacteria generally have its genome. Apart from the genome, it has some defensive mechanism, that is two component system. We use it to call two component system. How WBC in our body protects against some bacteria or viral infections in our body. Generally our body has immunity system against the infections. Just like that, bacteria also a living organism. Inside bacteria, if any virus, bacterial infecting viruses are called phages, affects, to protect from their actions, inside bacteria also there is a defense system is there. This is defending from bacteriophages. If bacteria is a danger for ourselves, bacteriophages are dangers or villains to the bacteria. So bacteria also in the nature have to protect themselves by bacteriophages actions. That's why it is called two component system. This is called bacterial genome, and also some plasmids are also present somewhere else. Just before I discuss that is plasmid is DNA, that is a circular and double standard circular, which is extra chromosomal genome, right? But here thing is, I told you that how these restriction endonucleases or molecular scissors are evolved in the world of biotechnology. When they are infected, then the DNA of the DNA or whatever the genome of the virus injected into the bacteria. If it comes, then these actions damage the bacterial genome, then bacteria will die. This is how bacteriophage infects the bacteria. But when a foreign DNA, this is obviously foreign DNA or alien DNA. To whom? To bacteria. It is not related to bacteria, no. That's why we can call foreign DNA or alien DNA. If a bacteria comes to our body, we used to call this a foreign body. That is not belongs to any of our tissue. That's why it is called foreign body. The same way, whenever a foreign DNA comes, that may be any organisms other than bacteria, then that foreign DNA will be act by this two component system. Suppose even if it is a bacterial DNA, here the sequences are A, T, G, C, then these are two component systems. I will tell you the two component systems. I make it little wider here. In the two component system, one is methylating agent, another one is endonuclease. These two together called defense system of the bacteria. It is this type of this defense is present in only few bacteria, not in all bacteria. Best example, E. coli. In many of the genetic engineering experiments, E. coli will be used as a tool. Fortunately, the two component system which used to protect the bacteria found in E. coli. Let us see how it will be protected. Suppose these many sequences are there in the bacteria. This is bacteriophage genome. It is when it is entered, it will go and cut A and T. How many A and T junctions are present? It will cut. Then the result, this bacterial genome lose its original characterization. Then it cannot act or damage bacteria. Very simple technique. Whenever alien DNA enters the bacteria cytoplasm, then this two component system will go. In that, endonuclease will go and cut between A and T. And don't think every defense system in every bacteria will go and cut between A and T. So many sequences. But here in the E. coli, the defense system used to find the sequences between A and T, adenine and thymine junctions. It will go and break the sequences. As it is acting and break the DNA sequences, it will become fragments and it lose its length. Then bacteriophage DNA cannot affect bacteria. That is how this two component system protecting the bacteria by foreign DNA actions. Now you may have some question. Sir, in the two component system, endonuclease is, suppose in this case, identifying A and T and breaking. That's why DNA of the bacteriophage is damaging, right? But A and T junctions, so many are there. In case of bacterial genome also, it may go to the sites of A and T and may damage the A and T, then own their genome, or their bacterial DNA, entire bacterial DNA may be broken up. Why it is not happening? Means that is what the responsibility of methylating agent. This methylating agent will add methyl group before their actions on their own genome at either A and or T and, so that this endonuclease cannot identify to cut at T or A. I repeat, if the two component system wants to break their own genome, it will go and identify the sequences of A and T, and before cutting, the another component in the system is methylating agent will go and add methyl group at A or T. Then this cutting system called endonuclease do not identify A and T and it will lose its cutting capacity. That is how methylating agent helps to protect their own genome from fragmentation. But this two component system functions are two. Number one, it is avoiding the actions of foreign DNA molecule and it is protecting their own genome by its fragmentation. So this is how scientists who have found such a type of two complex systems are very helpful to cut certain sequences. It is here one should understand that it is not going to act at anywhere of the DNA molecule. I repeat, two component system is not going to act on anywhere of the DNA, only at A and T. So that is what restriction sites. Exonucleases can cut only ends. Endonucleases can cut anywhere in the DNA. But restriction endonucleases enzymes can cut as a particular part of DNA. If a scientist want an organism DNA at a particular place, then if we use this type of enzymes, so much of diversity of enzymes are there. Nearly 900 types of restriction endonucleases are isolated by 200 different types of bacteria. Here bacteria called strain. Strain means variety. So 900 types of restriction endonucleases are available nowadays. If we use those enzymes, we can cut a DNA sequence at a particular place. That is why it is called restriction endonuclease. These restriction endonucleases are also called molecular scissors, often called molecular cutters or biological cutters. They use it to identify a palindromic sequence. Let us see what is palindromic sequence. Before that, I hope you understand, guys. This is what the concept scientists have been understand and grab, so that today endonucleases called restriction endonucleases were available in the biotechnology world. They are generally act as defense system in the bacteria, but as the human has a selfish brain, we are using such a protective bacterial protective agents to biotechnology tools. That is the credit of human. Now let me discuss how they will act, what are the different types of restriction endonucleases and how they will cut. Okay guys, yet we have observed the history behind invention of the restriction endonucleases. Now I am going to tell you how these restriction endonucleases identify a certain sequence of DNA. So here I mentioned that palindromic sequences. What is palindromic sequences? Let us see. If I take one DNA sequence here, this is G, A, T, T, C. This is a 5' to 3'. Then opposite to that again 5' to 3'. What will be there? G, A, T, T, C. If you read the direction from 3' to 5', 5' to 3', same nucleotide sets are available. Such a sequence is called palindromic sequences. For suppose if it is a 5', 3', then obviously it is a 5', 3'. GAA-TTC, then opposite that GAA-TTC. You may not surprise here, but if you take a normal DNA sequence 5' to 3' and 3' to 5', ATGCCT, then opposite what will be there? AGGCAT. This is not palindromic sequence. It is normal nucleotide sequence. Here 5' to 3', the nucleotides are ATGCCT. But here AGGCAT. So this sequence is not mirror to this. So it is not a palindromic sequence. Now you can understand what exactly the palindromic sequence. Palindromic sequences are the sequences of nucleotides from the direction of 5' to 3' of both the strands of their complementary is similar while reading. Let me read again. GAA-TTC. GAA-TTC. Suppose MADAM. Spell it. Madam. From this direction, MADAM. From this direction, MADAM. So in any direction, the alphabets are same. Such an example we can use to understand what exactly palindromic sequences. The very important thing here, one student should understand that restriction endonuclease enzymes can identify the palindromic sequences. Then they will act. Without palindromic sequences, they will never act anywhere. Then they are only endonucleases, not restriction endonucleases. Here I can say endonucleases are different, restriction endonucleases are different. Endonucleases are enzymes, they can cut DNA or RNA anywhere in the center. But restriction endonucleases are the enzymes, they can identify a certain palindromic sequence and they use it to act on between two specific nucleotides. Means, suppose one restriction endonuclease enzyme I will give you now. That name is called EcoR1. Escherichia coli R strain, that is the number 1. This is how we have to give the naming. In the restriction endonuclease enzyme, the very first alphabet is telling organism's genus name. Escherichia coli. In that Escherichia is a genus. E means Escherichia. Second, two alphabets are telling first two letters of species name. Escherichia coli. From the Escherichia we have taken E and CO is taken from coli, CO. And R and 1 is telling that labeling or strain. R is the strain and 1 is labeling. This is how the one of the restriction endonuclease enzyme name has been given, that is EcoR1. Like that 900 restriction endonuclease enzymes are there. Here interesting thing is EcoR1 identify a palindromic sequence. Fortunately that is this. GAA-TTC and opposite direction GAA-TTC will be identified by echo R1. But where it will cut? It will identify the GAA-TTC and it will cut between G and A. Here also G and A. So echo R1 is a restriction endonuclease enzyme that identify a particular palindromic sequence that is called GAA-TTC, and they identify GAA-TTC but they will cut between G and A. Here also G and A. When echo R1 enzyme identify this palindromic sequence and act between G and A in both the strands, what type of fragments will come? Let us see. So here G is separated, then this end will be A, T, T, C, and here G is separated, and again here the strand is A, T, T, C. Means this is a free end as well as this is a free end. Compared to these two strands, these two are hanging. They are called hanging ends. They are also called sticky ends or cohesive ends. They are not equal. In case if it is a DNA strand, A, T, T, T is there. Again opposite to T, 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 A and T, T, T will be there. This is, do you think this is the palindromic sequence? Yes. If anything, enzyme identified, restriction endonuclease enzyme something on the 900 identify and act between A and T here and here, then result two equal fragments will come. These type of ends are called blunt ends. But action of restriction endonuclease enzyme result sticky ends, nothing but hanging ends are coming, means they will cut the phosphodiester bond here and all hydrogen bonds here as well as phosphodiester bond here. Then there are no two equal ends will come. This will be hanging and this will be hanging. The hanging ends are called sticky ends. The action of any, not only echo R1, any restriction endonuclease enzyme result sticky ends, then those enzymes are called hanging restriction endonucleases, or sticky restriction nucleases, or cohesive restriction endonucleases. In case any restriction enzyme action gives two equal fragments, then they are called blunt ends or equal ends. In this case, this is the sequence example for echo R1. Let us see some different sequences for different restriction endonucleases. Now, that is why I have written one more important point here. Their actions, whose actions? Restriction endonuclease enzymes actions will be two types, gives two types of fragments. One fragments are blunt fragments, another fragments are sticky fragments or cohesive fragments. Clear? In this case, I took an example of echo R1. I already told you how the nomenclature has been given. First alphabet is indicating that organism's genus letter, and second two alphabets are indicating first two letters of its species name, and next one, next alphabet is indicating their strain, first strain name alphabet, that is R here and 1. Maybe echo R1, echo R2, echo R3 also present, or BAM1, HIND1, HIND2, HIND3. Like this, so many restrictive endonuclease enzymes are there. About 900 restriction endonucleases are there. They are strained from, they are collected from 200 strains. The very interesting thing here is one palindromic sequence has many restriction endonucleases, but one restriction endonuclease has one palindromic sequence. You try to understand this. I repeat, one palindromic sequence has many restriction endonucleases, but one restriction endonuclease has one palindromic sequence. If you want a better understanding here, let us see. GAA-TTC sequences can be identified by echo R1. Means echo R1 can identify only this. But GAA-TTC can be identified by another restriction endonuclease also. But it can identify this, some other X also identify can this, some Y also can identify this, and Z restriction endonuclease also can identify this. But echo R1 can cut between G and A. If X identify that GAA-TTC, it may cut between A and A. So their actions are different. The Y also identifying same sequence, but their actions between A and T. And Z is also another restriction endonuclease enzyme. It is also identifying same palindromic sequence, but their actions are between T and T. That is the reason I said one palindromic sequence have many restriction endonuclease enzymes, but one restriction endonuclease enzyme can have only one palindromic sequence. Okay, the X can cut between A and A, but not echo R1 or Y or Z or something. What is the conclusion? One palindromic sequence have many restriction endonucleases, but single restriction nucleases have only one palindromic sequence. Let us see different types of palindromic sequences with respect to restriction endonuclease enzymes there. What type of ends are coming? Sticky ends or blunt ends? Let us see. To explain so many details regarding the result or actions of the restriction enzymes, I have taken 5 restriction enzymes example here out of 900 different types of restriction endonucleases. Let us see one by one. Already before I explained echo R1. Now other than that 5. First one is HIND3. Here already you know a little idea how we have to naming the restriction endonucleases. In HIND3, the first letter, first alphabet is telling that the first alphabet of entire the genus. Haemophilus is the genus. In that the first alphabet is H, so that this restriction endonuclease is extracted or obtained from this bacteria. That's why the naming has been given HIND3. In HIND3, H is indicating Haemophilus and IN is indicating influenza, these two. So HIN, in the strain the letter can be taken, that is D. R already taken for E. coli, that's why second thing D was taken here. So this is why the HIND1, HIND2, HIND3, so many are there. The labeling of number will be given according to their time. But HIND means what? Haemophilus influenza D strain, labeling is 3. Like that HIND1, HIND2, HIND3 also there. HIND2 is probably first restricted endonucleases were formed. This HIND3 act on a particular recognition sequence site as well as cleavage site. Recognition site is AAGCTT. Is that palindromic sequence? Obviously. If it is not palindromic sequence, restriction endonuclease cannot identify. Let us see whether it is palindromic sequence or not. From 5' to 3' sequence you just read AAGCTT. Again from 5' to 3' in this direction also it is reflecting same S, AAGCTT. In both the directions the reading pattern of the nucleotide sequences is same, then that is palindromic sequence. Here recognition site means AAGCTT. Cleavage site means between A and A. A and A here and A and here. Both the places it cuts, then sticky ends will be produced. So question comes like this. HIND3 produces sticky ends or blunt ends? Answer is sticky ends. Or one of the following is helps to produce the sticky ends. In that if HIND3 is there, that would be answer. Another depth level questions also may come. Which of the following sequences are belongs to identified by HIND3? In the options any of the 4 sequences are present, answer would be this one. So you have to use some memory power. Second one is BAM H1. What B is indicating? The very first letter of the species called Bacillus. Then AM is indicating first 2 letters of the species, that is Amyloliquefaciens. In that AM is indicating. H is the strain and this is the first one, that is why it is called BAM H1. BAM H1 is identifying the recognition sequence, that is GGA TCC. What is that? GGA TCC. Again you read in this direction GGA TCC. So that is why it is called palindromic sequence. It identified that sequence. Other than this enzyme also maybe identified that sequence, but it cut between G and G. Other may cut between G and A or any other, but not G and G. Are you getting clear? And by this action, again sticky ends or cohesive ends or hanging ends may be the result. Let us see the third one. Third one name I have not written here. Reason you have to understand. That enzyme is obtained by Streptococcus albicus. What would be the name of this restriction endonuclease? First identify first letter of the genus S and first two letters of the species, that are AL, SAL. So sequence was 1, SAL1. Number is not given, so then that will be 1. SAL1 is the restriction endonuclease obtained by a bacteria called Streptococcus albicus, and it acts on the sequence called GTC-GAC. Opposite also GTC-GAC, but it identify GTC-GAC but act between G and T. Again sticky ends will be come. Most probably sticky ends providing restriction endonuclease are present. It is meaning. So in restriction endoenzymes who provide sticky ends are very helpful for cloning process. Next one is SMA1. It is extracted from an organism, bacteria called Serratia mercescens. The sequence is CCC-GGG. Opposite sequence also CCC-GGG. Here the cutting pattern is between C and G. So the result, two equal ends will be appeared. So the blunt ends. Here you found the blunt ends produce restriction endonuclease, that is called SMA1. Along with that, another example also I mentioned, that is called HE3, that is a Haemophilus aegypticus. Here Haemophilus influenza, that is why HIN will be given. Here Haemophilus aegypti, HAE has been given. This strain is 3, that's why HE3. It also identify GGCC, but here 4 sequences are there. Don't think that everywhere 6 sequences are there means one palindromic sequence is made up of 6 nucleotides. Wrong. N number, but that should follow the rule of anti-parallel reading. Now GGCC they identify between G and C. Here also G and C. Then answer is 2 blunt ends. So blunt end producing restriction endonucleases that you have found 2. One is SMA1, another one is HAE3. Like that you refer different books to know so many restriction endonucleases, their sources, their cleavage sites and recognition sites, and types of ends they produce by their action. But according to need, this is enough. If you interest, you go through other references. I hope you understand, guys. In this class, we introduced the biotechnology processes lesson, and also we just inquired the tools which are used in biotechnology. In that first tool is completed, that is called Engine. Go to the lines of textbook and attend assignment without fail. Thank you.